Good evening. It's Friday evening, 10:30 p.m. Your host Manzoor Nadir with Hold No Bars. This evening, to all of you who have been calling whenever this program is rebroadcast, thanks again, and let's keep it going. Tonight, I want to speak about a couple of issues and to get your comments on them. One is Gaisuku. Last week, His Excellency President David Granger made a surprise visit to Albion Sugar Estate. And he met with the workers, and we were told that, I don't know if operator can take the echo down a bit. We were told that this was a surprise visit. However, the president was accompanied by the head of Gaisuko, Dr. Harold Davis Jr. Also, the president, in meeting the workers, said, I'm here to understand the challenges which you have, to listen to you. I'm here to save jobs. I am not here to close the industry. The president went on further to allude to the fact that throughout history, sugar estates in Guyana numbered 300 odd in 17 something, and now it's down to 3 or 4. That even the PPPC had closed sugar estates and consolidated. But under the PPPC, sugar production was over 200,000 tons. 200,000 tons annually. So the president said to these workers, we're here to listen to your challenges, we're here to save jobs. Is this hypocritical? Is this hypocritical? When we had hundreds of estates, they were small units. They were units that used to boil sugar in small amounts and then consolidate. Kevin, I don't know if we can deal with the echo. We're getting a big feedback here in the studio. And not too sure what to do. Okay, the volume, Kevin is saying, let's take the volume down. Thank you. My apologies to all of you who have had that annoying hum coming through your televisions. Okay, thanks, Kevin. So the president said he's here to save jobs. Could have been done 4 years earlier. One person called me when they saw Hold No Bars. They said, I want you to say that when they was campaigning, Charan Das was one of the main persons promoting the coalition government, and he was saying that 20% increase in your wages and salaries was the commitment which the coalition government was giving. He said the bag that you're carrying your lunch in will not be sufficient to hold the money in that we're going to pay you. And here is President Granger, His Excellency, or their beloved President Granger, at Albion, saying he's there to save jobs and to build the industry to make it more profitable. He says he's going to make it more profitable by concentrating the production in 3 mega estates. So when you're talking about a mega estate, you're talking about expansion, you're talking about Albion and Iflat and Blaymont being expanded, modernized, getting $1 billion in investment, that we're going to see changes in the manner in which we plant cane, harvest cane, and produce sugar. $30 billion, $150 million was borrowed from financial institutions. The divestment of the sugar estates was put in the hands of a special purpose unit at the NISIL, at the National Industrial Commercial Investment Limited, headed by a very bright finance wizard in Mr. Colvin Heath, London. And this bright boy, we are told in some sections of the press, hired an old-time friend of his and Price Waterhouse Cooper to head this unit. So the $30 billion was secured to help inject much needed capital and in the remaining estates and for the retooling of these estates. And 147,000 tons, from 230 to 235 tons when I was Minister of Labour. It's going to go down by almost 100,000 tons to 147. President Granger wants us to believe that it's going to become more profitable this way and that it is going to secure the jobs of the people in sugar. I would say secure the remaining jobs of the people in sugar. So if you're going to move from 230,000 tons to 147,000 tons, and you're going to pump 150 million US dollars into these three estates, it means that you're going to have to put more throughput through the estates in order to bring down the average cost of producing sugar. So I don't know how he's going to manage this, but sugar, when the government came into power, sugar was over 200,000 tons with 18,000 people employed. Now we're hearing 10,000 directly employed. Wales is listening to us tonight, and we know what is happening at Wales, the hardship that sugar workers face right now. We also know the hardship in Skeldon. Persons with skills, agronomists, technicians, accountants, are now reduced to seeking or to getting $2,000 a night for 3 to 4 days of watchman work, as they would say. So it's hard. It's hard. And our president goes with a new set of promises. Are these hypocritical words? Are these hypocritical words? I find them to be. I find them to be. And then the other big challenge that the president has in terms of reviving this economy, and especially getting sugar, one of the largest foreign exchange earner in our country, the challenge that we have is this fight between the Special Purpose Unit at NISIL, the SPU headed by Heath London, and Gaisuco itself headed by Dr. Harold Davis Jr. So here we have the president going to Albion to say to the workers, I'm here to listen to you, listen to your challenges, I'm here to preserve your jobs. And on the other hand, the two entities, the one directly involved in getting sugar production going, that is Gaisuco, headed by Harold Davis Jr., and the other one with the money, that is the Special Purpose Unit headed by Heath London, at war. And the president is the president. Except all week we were treated to press conferences, press releases, charges and counter charges between these two entities that were supposed to and are supposed to implement David Granger's vision for a profitable, prosperous sugar industry. And what happens? They continue to fight. They continue to squabble over the money. One says that I don't get information. The other one says you don't release money. And who is suffering? The remaining 10,000 people in sugar. The remaining 10,000 employees in the sugar estate. And the president can't seem to bring the two warring entities to the table, but maybe that is his strategy, to always have the industry or the remaining or the remnants of the industry, to have it in that state of confusion so he could come in as the white knight and be the savior. And if that is the strategy, then it's sadistic, because it's the ordinary people punishing. If you borrowed 30 billion Guyana dollars almost 18 months ago, and only $7 billion is released, and we're going to, as a government, to the employees and say to them, we're here to build. So the president goes and says, I'm here to build sugar, to listen to your challenges, and to listen to your challenges, and to ensure that you can preserve your jobs, right? And on the other hand, just as he leaves, we have the war between the man with the purse, Heath London, and the man with the plow, Harold Davis. But the president promises that within the short space of time, he is going to bring them together, and he's going to ensure that this investment gets going in Gaisuku so we can reach 147,000 tons, metric tons of sugar, and that the jobs will be safeguarded. After you knock off almost half the people, you go to them and say, you're going to preserve the other half, make the industry more profitable, while you're saying that your two lieutenant generals, Heath London and Harold Davis Jr., are at war in the public. In the public. And this is the administration that we have voted for. This is the administration that is good for Guyana. We're going to open up the lines in a few minutes. While we see that confusion playing out in the largest industry in our country, in one of the smaller entities of our country, we see the same kind of power play. And the captain of the ship, His Excellency David Granger, can't seem to resolve it for the good of all. I speak now of Mr. Sherrod Duncan and his role as the general manager of the Guyana National Newspapers Limited, better known as the Chronicle, right? So the board of directors of the Guyana Chronicle, right, after listening to a presentation of an audit report for the year 2018, 2019, decided that Mr. Sherrod Duncan, the former deputy mayor, the chairman of the Alliance for Change Georgetown Group, that he should no longer be in the position of general manager, and they terminated him. After about 2 months, Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu reinstated him, saying that the board decision was harsh, was brash, was rash, and to some extent challenged the credibility of the vote that was taken to dismiss Duncan. And Prime Minister Moses Nagamutu reinstated Mr. Sherrod Duncan hear what is the follow-up, the follow-on, and the fallout of that decision. So the follow-on to that was Raphael Trotman, the leader of the AFC, he came out to say that in support of Nagamutu's position that the treatment by the board of directors of Mr. Duncan was harsh and brash, he came out and basically sanctified that position, saying that Mr. Duncan should not have been dismissed, or inferring Mr. Duncan should not have been dismissed. Kemraj Ramjatan, the Honorable Vice President and Minister of Public Security, now is in a position of saying that, yes, Duncan should not have been dismissed. But here is the play. Tomorrow, there is a battle for the executive positions of the AFC. In reappointing Duncan, Nagamutu was hoping that he would capture all of the delegates that Duncan would be bringing from the Georgetown group to the convention tomorrow. Right? So he would be benefiting from this leniency with respect to the treatment of Duncan following the dismissal by the board of the Chronicle. Not to be outdone, and we know that Raphael Trotman is in support of Nagamutu, right? Raphael endorses Nagamutu's position. Wanting to pull Duncan back a little bit into his camp, Kemraj Ramjatan says, yes, the decision was too harsh. But just before I came out here tonight, I said, let me see what are some of the latest and the breaking news. And lo and behold, Director General of the Ministry of the Presidency, Mr. Joseph Harmon, has stated that Mr. Duncan remains fired. Sherrod Duncan, Joseph Harmon says, remains fired. What should we poor people looking on and looking in should believe? Should we believe that it is really a rudderless government? Should we look further and see if the PNC was now cementing itself and just forcing out the coalition partners from key positions? Is it that Nagamutu and Ramjatan are so insignificant that Harmon, who is not even a cabinet minister, would announce to them in public tonight that Duncan remains fired? What will Duncan do tomorrow? His three leaders couldn't protect him and get him back his job at the Chronicle. Raphael Trotman, Moses Nagamutu, Kemraj Ramjatan. Joseph Harmon says Duncan remains dismissed. This is the government which is united, which is forging forward, which has no problems with the decision that will be handed down on Tuesday, June the 18th. So that was the second issue which I wanted to bring to your attention and to reinforce, because I know our people read a lot. We are always up to date with the news, and more particularly, we are very up to date with respect to the analysis of these moves. And tonight I said, let me use those two examples and a last one to talk about the rudderlessness of the government. And the last one, just as we and the callers who are online. Just give me 2 minutes. I know I've been taking up a lot of your valuable interactive time, but just give me a few more minutes on the last observation. Now, two other developments tonight. The Honorable Jaipal Sharma, Minister of State in the Ministry of Finance, has now been shifted to the Ministry of Public Infrastructure. That's the breaking news just before we came out. And apparently, this is over the issue of meeting with groups to ensure that there is some fair play with respect to the casino bid, the casino that should be attached to the Marriott Hotel. So Jaipal has been shifted out of the Ministry of Finance. And he didn't have, and he used to be treated very badly at Finance. Very badly. So he's been shifted out of that. But who has been protected? Who has been protected tonight? The other breaking news was SOCU, the Special Organized Crime Unit, found no evidence to bring any charges against the Minister of the Public Service, the Honorable David Patterson, the Minister of, not Public Service, Public Infrastructure. Man, they shift them around so fast, it's hard to keep up. The Minister of Public Infrastructure. Now, Jaipal is going to be his junior minister. And the PPP had written to SOCU with respect to the termination of a proper bid process by the Public Procurement Commission over tenders for the design of the new fixed structure Demerara Harbour Bridge. Minister Patterson annulled that and went to sole sourcing of a company, breaking all the procurement rules. And more particularly, Cabinet, it is said, approved. Now, nowhere in the law does it give Cabinet a right to approve. It could have a no objection, and there is a difference. There's a difference, right? It's a check and balance. Cabinet has no powers anymore for the approval of contracts. So the police, via SOCU, found nothing wrong with a breach of the public procurement provisions. They saw no wrong with Cabinet taking onto itself, arrogating onto itself powers that they don't have by any law. Now, with those things, and I have a little last tidbit, but we'll talk about that as the program progresses. So now it's just about 35 minutes remaining, and I open the lines, the WhatsApp messages. You can send WhatsApp messages. I have the computer all queued up with the WhatsApp here. You can call on 681-9312, and you have the other landlines there. Hi, good evening. Harry, you're on the line.
Good night, sir.
Good evening.
How do you do?
Quite well, quite well.
We live in a cowboy town, so you got to expect cowboy action. Cowboy styling. That's the thing, man.
But what is your views on the issue of what's happening at Gaisuko, what's happening at Soku, and more particularly?
In that cowboy styling?
Cowboy styling. Okay, Harry, take care. All the best. Good. So, and then of course we have the two other issues is on, Tuesday, the whole country will be glued to the Facebook and the broadcast from the CCJ. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Nadir.
Good evening.
I think the guy Suku, I don't think that the president in his right sense will go there and tell those people that will create jobs for them now.
So he wasn't in his right frame of mind?
If bring the new confidence motion,
Uh-huh.
and it was close to election.
Mhm.
That would have never happened,
Mm-hmm.
right? But he needs to know that Chinese people are not stupid people. And secondly,
Mm-hmm.
I know Mr. Moses. I know him. He is a no-nonsense man from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how the Honorable Prime Minister
Mm-hmm.
this country could sit and see all those wrong things that's going on in this country
Mm-hmm.
and cannot see anything.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I say that is not Mr. Nagamutu.
Mm-hmm.
There is something definitely wrong, and what I see wrong there is that the APNO
Mm-hmm.
have seen that the AFC has no support.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever the APNO have to do, the AFC have to work with that.
Mhm.
If they don't like it, you have to go. So I think that,
So hear me out here, right?
yes,
You're saying the president wasn't in his right frame of mind.
yeah, because,
Okay, no, hold on. And then the prime minister, the two most important persons in this country,
correct,
that there's not the right ragamutu, you know. So
No,
something
that-
can be wrong with these guys.
something is definitely wrong.
Okay.
Because Mr. Nagamutu, I know him, and he is a no-nonsense man, and he always talk the right.
Uh-huh.
And I can't see how the right cannot talk now.
Uh-huh.
So there is something definitely wrong somewhere down the
Mhm.
line. So I hope
Mm-hmm.
that the election could held in this year,
Mm-hmm.
and let's get a change of government.
Okay, pal. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Good. Okay, so one comment here. Mr. Nadir, Jaipal, Sharma, Moses, and Kamraj are on their way out. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Let me just comment, but guys,
Go ahead.
this is just their bluff with election gimmick.
Mhm.
The election gimmick. They went there on a joyride.
Mm-hmm.
Need to just go and fool the people.
Mm-hmm.
It wasn't election coming up. Them
Uh-huh.
wouldn't go around there. And is Harman, if Mr. Harman say they carry Nagamutu, Trackman, and Ramjatan just bluff as a rubber stamp.
Mm-hmm.
Nagamutu control the Chronicle, and Harman said the man is not on the job, and them three telling people the man on the job.
Mm-hmm.
It was nonsense. They said, who really going on? What is the AFC position in the country?
Mm-hmm.
What is the position? If it's nothing, they should come off the polling.
Look,
As a-
stamp,
Off the
stamp.
polling, man.
Uh-huh.
Off the polling. They don't need on the polling anymore.
Okay.
Off the polling. Is Harman running things
Mm-hmm.
tonight?
Good. Gotcha. So, some amount of agreement that Moses, Jaipal, and Kamraj are all on their way out. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Okay, sorry about that. I have to cut you off. There's a sign there. And try again when you have turned on your television. Good. So, Gaisuko. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, sorry, man. I didn't get the remote quickly.
Okay, I'm glad.
I'm enjoying your topic so far. Let me hit the question. I hit the question on the road this week here. If you think that these politicians, in general, right? If you think that they have the nerve and the patience to look after the small ordinary people on the ground, they don't have no feelings for the ordinary citizens in this country. Hear what I'm saying this. You want to make us not take a bit? Hear what I'm saying this. Now, if you have this country at heart and you want to see Guyana as a developing country and where all the fancy words are using. Now, when it's time for you to give up your dual citizenship, you listen to me?
Very well. In fact, I like the thought.
Yes, good. Now, if you got to give up your citizenship of a next man country, and you're so interested in building this country, and you're so interested in the youth future and all these things we're talking about, why you can't give up these citizenship for these big countries where you hold land to, and stay here and develop this land? And I think these people is just promises, and they You understand what I'm saying?
Gotcha.
They don't have this country at heart because they would have gave it up. And I want a lot of people to listen to me tonight. I want to call in and see what angle I'm coming from. But at the end of the day, there's nothing for the small and ordinary citizen. The sugarcane people are supposed to get something, an alternative crop they could have planted. Even if it's hemp, it could be something else. It could be corn, it could be black-eyed peas, it could be something. You can't put people on the bread line like that, buddy. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Just wanted to say to the person, I totally agree with you. All politicians know that we're there to ensure we have pro-poor programs and policies. And in order to do that, you also have to build a bigger economic pie so that you can redistribute to the people who need it the most. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Good night, man.
Good evening.
You know, the Bible said 70 and 10. All these guys are over 70 and 10.
No, man, not everybody. Jaipal
Yeah,
and there.
No.
Patterson.
Really all the big boys.
Uh-huh.
Ranger, Harmon, Nagumotu guy into the shortly. But they're over 60 years at least.
Me too.
Huh?
Me too.
Me too.
Okay.
But let me tell you something.
Mm-hmm.
So these men know time is against them. God got them there for the time being.
Yeah.
These men are interested in country, interested in themselves. But I want to know when they gather all this money by theft, what they going to do with it? When they're watching, I mean, some of them said this Granger, me, you had a story with this. No, me and Peter had a story with this when he said, Granger's a good man. And I asked him if he said, I don't know. How could you be a good man, a Christian,
Right.
going to church? This is, this is hypocrisy to the highest, and telling people he was a good man. These guys are enjoying life. They're studying. Look, I put up a program to these guys. If I tell you who's me, I had problems with the PPP too. And I walk up the job. I was a man straight up, I qualify in Cuba and Russia, qualify in England, and, I want to tell these people, we got bad politicians in Ghana from 1953 to now. I respected Cherry because he fought for independence. But apart from the PPP and the PNC and the UF, they were all fighters for themselves. If you look back, Indians have always, and I got to be a little racial here.
Go ahead.
Indians have always had about 60-80% of the economy after about 1890. They always,
I was 1890 because...
Yeah. If you look rice and production, when they used to buy rice for the Indians and slavery, 1890, we were exporting rice at a large. 1890, we were exporting about 100 tons of rice already. Sugar cane for 250 years. The Africans were only producing at 1838 when the Indians. We must look at history. 24,000 tons a ton. By 1851, Indians had it at 60. By 1891.
I think you got your history right, but let me move on.
History right because I got the figures right in front of me here.
Yeah, but you got to move on because I don't think...
No, just tell you. So when you look at this, the contribution, see, we looking at Guyana, the PPP is a multicultural party. I think, and I can tell you this tonight, if after this thing come out Monday and anything go the way... Tuesday, right? We can form an Indian party in this country and split the PPP and the PNC vote because I don't think the PPP working for is a multicultural, multiracial party. Indians suffering like us in this country.
You got to watch the language, man.
No, I just tell you.
Yeah, but we can't do it, because we got something called the Ghana National Broadcast Authority.
Broadcast Authority. Let me make this last point. The thing is that they have made, if I just to tell you, at 1848, they only producing 20, and the rice industry, the cattle, the sheep, the goat, all these things, these people contribute to this economy. This economy is backside and doing. Go at Linden and see from 1970 when backside started to today. Look, the house is no even going to the goal.
Okay, but let's make the point. The point you're making is that Indians have always controlled for the last 150 years.
Contribution to this country over the 181 years they've been here.
Yeah.
Let me compare it with African. I'm being racial here tonight.
Go ahead.
right? And when you contributed, look at the contribution, look at the history. As I tell, what's your name there the other day, Miss Gonzalez, Walter Rodney said in his book, I must read you, that after he's done with Bonham, he can deal with Shetty. So he wasn't fighting for Indians or Africans. He was in the Black Power movement before he come here. He was fighting for the president of this country. Thank you. Have a good.
Okay, thanks a lot for your perspective. I'm sure many persons would not agree with it, but you have a right to it. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Nadir.
Good evening.
And I'm listening to this program for 2 weeks now.
Go ahead.
But then our memory has got to be good. Right? The only perfect being I know is God. Right? Both the PPP and the PNC now up now, all had their faults. There's nothing perfect between the two parties.
Right.
Now, when you talk about the guy that was dismissed by the
Sheriff Duncan.
there, right? Now you got to remember when the Harlem manager was dismissed, NCN and the president at the time, Jack Dale, reinstalled him there when he took the jingles money and put it in the private account. You got to look at these things. There's nobody perfect. Everybody got the ifs and buts from both sides. But how both this program and the one that Kwame and the one that Jillian Bortman is just lambasting one side.
Good.
And they have faults. They had faults. There were faults both sides. And people must be fair in the judgment. Right? This other girl here with the clean that take a Rupner position that dismiss somebody from the ministry. Well, I would tell you, I got a friend that Jennifer Westford dismissed from agriculture here, Gregory Mentor, because he failed to take a polygraph test. He said that wasn't in his employment. That when he got employed, he refused, and she dismissed him. The High Court took the matter up. He was reinstated, and then she took him off back because she had wanted to know who is this Gregory, and he remained off until now. You got to look at history. Both sides had their fault.
Okay, thanks a lot.
If you have a program, it must be balanced. Because when what I find...
Aren't you bringing that balance now, if it's unbalanced?
Hold on. What I'm looking at, some of the programs, especially with Kwame and Jillian
Okay.
and Knight.
Well, let's talk about this one, right? I have another caller. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good night, Mr. Nadir.
Good evening.
Yes, that one caller that called and talked about the production of the rice and the sugar industry. Now, the blacks came here as slaves, and the Indians came here as indentured servants. They made a choice to come here. The black people didn't make no choice to come here. So
Exactly.
you can't expect them to be doing what the white man wanted them to do. The Indians come here wanting to do what the white man wanted them to do. So I'm tired of the ignorance that some of you Indian people could get on the TV and talk about. Know your history before you say some of the shit that you do.
Hey man, you can't use the language. We gotta cut. Folks, here, we got some rules, right? And some of the language that we have, or we are sometimes motivated to use, we can't use. Now, for us to get a 7-second delay system so that we can hear you before the audience hear you, it's going to take a little while and it's expensive, but we're going to have to do it. But in the meanwhile, we ask a little cooperation. Certain words. Good? While it's a late time of the night and we may feel that the kids are not watching, but a lot of people find them offensive, and you know what? Still in our laws, indecent language is unlawful. So let me keep the presentation divided these flowery terms that we can keep for certain places, right? I'm begging you, please. Hi, good evening. Good evening.
Yes. Then the paper said this is a check how much. And then they in AFC. They design PPP. Majority of them was PPP design and about AFC. Don't forget that
Okay.
rice.
Okay. Get your thoughts together and call back. And we're going to put you on, right? Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Good evening.
Hi, good night.
Good evening.
Yeah. I hear a important discussion about the PPP and PNC concerning about
Mm-hmm.
land regulation. You might buy some, right?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. I come with some of them.
Hey, Wes, what's up?
No person don't know at like 92 election what happened in West Marshall with Indian people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And I'm talking about PPP this and PPP though with in Jackie time, the killings.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. Well, I reach out one time was like Craig and so,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe remember that time though.
Boy, the memory is start failing yet. Maybe not a few months or perhaps not a few years, but I still got good recollection.
I feel, right, if there's no confidence motion fall in the PPP way,
Mm-hmm.
we might get off road like that.
Okay, pal. Thanks a lot.
Alright, good.
Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good evening, all why.
Go ahead.
What is this whole why?
Okay, so get your thoughts together and you can call back, right? Okay, so we have a couple of persons who've been watching and motivated to call, but they got to get their thoughts together. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, Mr. Nadir. Good night.
Good evening.
I was watching the press conferences that Mr. Jagdio
Mm-hmm.
is host, right?
Right.
I noticed, I don't know if you would notice this, these reporters that he usually have
Mm-hmm.
in these press conferences,
Mm-hmm.
I have never seen them bring no information
Mm-hmm.
concerning any corruption concerning this government.
Mm-hmm.
No time at all. Mr. Jagdio has to present evidence of corruption all the time to them. They don't go no time and investigate
Mhm.
of any corruption with this government.
Mm-hmm.
And at any time Mr. Jagdio present to them an incidence of corruption,
Mm-hmm.
they are always in defense, and they have some comparable incident
Mm-hmm.
that happened under the PNC, under the PPP regime.
Right.
Right? That I won't know. I can't prove that. But they always are in defense
Mm-hmm.
with some comparable incident that happened under the PPP.
Mhm.
And that gives justification and absolve this government for any corruption that's going on.
Great.
That seems the kind of mentality.
Yeah. So two wrongs make a right.
That's your observation, no?
It looks so.
It
Right?
looks right?
Yes. Thanks a lot.
They never bring no information.
Okay, I got to take a few more calls because we're running down to the end of the program. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, Mr. Manzoor Nadir.
Good evening.
And everything was okay within the previous government. But this government is right now,
Mm-hmm.
them are looking after the future.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what we're dealing with.
Mm-hmm.
Example, when Penford say about his PPP,
Mm-hmm.
you don't know what, I hear a fair thing. This thing is for everybody.
Okay,
You
pal.
can't depend on the year talking skunks.
Boy, we're going to have to get this 7-second delay because I think passions are getting high and they're going to certainly get higher as we come down to crunch time. Hi, good evening.
I believe you're Mr. Nadir.
Go ahead.
Yeah, people, I make job, but they do a nice job.
Go ahead. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Good evening. Okay. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Okay, so we're going to cut off the people who don't turn down the television, right? So again, have some respect for yourself. We have a lot of viewers, and this goes all over the world, this particular program. So please, we're begging you. Good. So you might not like what I say, you might not like what another caller says. So come on and say what you have to say without being abusive or indecent. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Good evening. Go ahead. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, good night, Mr. Nadir.
Good evening.
This system we see going on in this country is disrespect from all angles going on.
Uh-huh.
Now you're conducting a program on the air, and it just shows you the type of people that we have in this country. You don't have no respect for anybody at all.
Mm-hmm.
Now how could you be disrespected? I happen to know you as a little boy, and you are not supposed to be disrespected.
Thank you.
The people must have some respect.
Thank you. Great. Thanks for that call of confidence. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Go ahead. You're on the air. Okay. Good evening. You're on the air. Hello?
Hello?
Go ahead. You're on the air.
Yes, Mr. Nadir. I think you're one-sided.
Thank you.
Yes, to some extent. You are. Because if you look, you will tell when someone is coming on, you will tell them, you just quickly close the line. Don't do that. And then you're looking for, as soon as they say something that you feel good about, you egg them on, and that's bad. Come on, Mr. Nadir, you can do better than that.
Thank you. Okay, most of the people I cut off are the people using indecent language. Right? So, hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Yeah, Mr. Nadir.
Go ahead.
Mr. Nadir, I was trying to be honest to the thing hard. You know, you disappoint me here, where you disappoint me with.
Tell me.
With the TUF part, you're supposed to be the thought force right now. The vibrant thought force in this country presently now. I always stand by your side and embracing you. And then you're going to cut over the PVP. There's very part shake up. You right now would have been the original thought force carrying this country. And would have been the thought force, you would have become the ruling party right as this president election coming up here now. So
Thanks.
anyhow, I hope you come back with the TUF and walk down the road, man.
Thank you very much. Okay, so we have just about 10 minutes remaining on the program. All the lines are free. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. I'm going to have to cut you off because of the volume, right? So, yes. So, to the young lady who said that I cut off people, I give everybody a chance to talk. I cut you off if you're going to use indecent language. I cut you off if you're going to start repeating 2 and 3 times the same thing, right? Because we have to give other people a chance to get in on the program this evening and every evening. Good. So I wasn't able to take quite a few calls that came through on the landline, and I've cleared all of them now. We have just about 9 minutes remaining on the program tonight. We're talking Gaisuko, we're talking about how the country is managed, and we're talking about evaluating some of the issues the leader of the opposition and I have raised. Go ahead. Good evening. You're on the air. Yes, you're on the air. Go ahead. It's another call coming in, so that's why it's beeping. Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I'm looking at this country here when it comes to politics.
Go ahead.
Right? Is that these governments, which is the previous government and also this present government,
right?
Both of them is just dividing Guyanese in order to counter this culture. Because you divide the Indians and you divide the black people. And you got them fighting against one another, whereby now you get into tango. But if black people and Indian people and all the rest of Guyanese people, Amerindians and all the different races, if the whole one head together and vote for betterment in Guyana, I feel we're going to get a better Guyana. Because the interpretations dividing us, and that's why they keep winning us all the time, and that's why the country being the way how we there, and they like today. Because Indian vote for Indian, which is the government, and black vote for APNU, which is the government. And we get in the way.
Okay, thank you. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good night.
Good evening.
Better everybody should come together and maybe do something and vote for you, but because
Thank you.
voting for
We're talking a little bit of sugar though, and we're talking about some government management, right? Thank you. Hi, good evening. You're on the air. Well, I gotta track that number and block that particular number because I have it twice here now, right? So that is the person who have been abusive. Hi, good evening.
Hi, good evening.
Go ahead.
If the British High Commissioner makes a comment or compliment on an event that is democratic in this country, would that be interfering in internal affairs?
Well, there is a very thin line between interfering and encouraging, right?
But that seems to be a compliment. I think he was complimenting a democratic activity and a milestone in this country. I can't see how that could be deemed interference.
Yeah.
To you, it was it.
I didn't hear the words directly out of the mouth of His Excellency the British High Commissioner. I saw some reports in the newspapers, right? But normally what happens, right, is that both sides would exchange notes when you have these functions. So if the president is going to speak, the president's speech would be sent to the British High Commissioner, and the British High Commissioner's speech would be sent to the president, and they get to work in positions that they want to speak about, and they also get to take out things that could
but
be...
But the British High Commissioner, he sounded like he was really taken back. He wasn't prepared for that, if you notice. And then the big laughter. What was the laughter about?
Yeah.
Where you got it from the laughter? Who were they laughing?
I didn't see the exchange, right? I didn't see the exchange. I just read about it. So I couldn't, you know.
Okay. When there was a big laughter after he made that comment, a big laughter from the whole audience, I didn't know who they were laughing at. If it was the High Commissioner, Mr. Granger, or whoever. But it sounds really embarrassing that a topic like that should be a comical one.
Okay, Pa, but you know, sometimes they say true things is passing joke, right? Okay, take care. Right. Okay, so we have about 5 minutes remaining on the program tonight. We've had quite a few very abusive calls tonight. I have one number locked down here, which I intend to forward to the people who could take action. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Good night.
Good evening.
I think British are supposed to take over this country back.
Okay.
My suggestion. You gotta take it over. Only them could run this country.
Okay, but that will be wishful thinking, right?
No, not wishful. The country was loaned by them. It wasn't given by them. It was loaned. The history I'm talking about.
Yeah.
This is, I'm a British. And we gotta take it back.
I know about all of that, boy, but I have strong views about that. I can't condone people getting captured, enslaved, walking day and night, indentured people coming and they can't get back the passage to go back. Nah, not me. Right? So you can look at one side, I look at the other side. I don't agree with you. Okay. Hi, good evening. You're on the air.
Hi, good evening, Mr. Nadir.
Go
On
ahead.
the GPL matter here. They was criticizing privatization and them hiring Caterpillar generator from Makar. Now they're going to hire two Caterpillar generator, buy it or something, and then they go to Giftland Mall. Go ask for Giftland, give them current. It's a very disturbing thing with GPL, man. Because what they criticize the previous administration with all this power generator when they put in, and now them gone to do something, the same thing now. Warsaw used to got parts stuck. You got the parts there, you can't go rely on the market to them big set. The man who run in GPL, he get thrown from Jamaica and they bring you in. Find out the history. Get that car from Jamaica because you run Jamaica.
But you know, that is not the tragedy. The tragedy is the covering up. Look, none of us could have fixed GPL. I think in the last few months it's gotten worse. Now, we're hearing that today the people who are in charge of power generation, they're saying to us that this is not a power generation issue, it's a distribution issue. So if it's not a power generation issue, why you gotta worry with the cable from West Dem? If Kingston and Garden of Eden and so is all functioning well and producing enough, why you gotta worry with running cable under the ground? So everybody defending themselves, and it's not their problem. It's the same issue with Gaisuko between NISL and SPU. It's the same issue now we're seeing with GPL. But maybe next week we could tackle GPL, right? And with that, we have to wind down tonight's program. And tonight's program, we're going to wind down introducing next week's topic, GPL perhaps, unless what happens on Tuesday really overtakes the entire country. But we have two very powerful issues for next week. The judgment on the 18th of June at 10 a.m. 18th of June at 10 a.m. It's going to be on Facebook, it's going to be on television, it's going to be on radio. I think the entire country will be listening to that. 10 a.m. on the 18th of June for the CCJ judgment, right? And we could follow up on that on GPL next Friday. From all of us here, Kevin and the directors at MTV, to all of you, thanks for sharing your comments. And to those who have been abusive, I hope you kneel down today and get some amount of inspiration and divine intervention so that you can have respect for other people. So thanks for calling, thanks for sharing your views, thanks for sharing the time with us. Good night.